Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are looking at why AMC is extremely bullish, how we're ready to moon, the short selling to cover, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. 2.5 seems to be the value area on AMC. Didn't spend much time at $3, which was bearish, but didn't spend that much time at $2.30 or anywhere near $2, which is bullish. We did a rotation to $2.30, didn't stay there too long, shot right back up, expecting a rotation to $3 and stick. Value is going higher and we are headed in the right direction. So quickly, if we take a look at the AMC price today, we closed at 255. So these are above the 250 option strike prices. And this was already a very good thing because going to the start of this week, when we saw that the max pain for AMC was $2, you saw an abundance of posts telling you that AMC was going to be closing below $2 and going even lower. Now, we've obviously proven that to be wrong. We knew that that wasn't going to be the case anyway, but the very fact that we are able to prove them wrong, the fact that we closed above 250, which is making these in the money call options for $2 and 250 to obviously have gamma exposure, this is something that needs to be talked about and understood as a bullish projection. Now, the problem that we're having right now is that obviously we are touching $3 and we are seeing rejection off of $3. To me, on the technical analysis, that is bearish. However, we have to understand with AMC, there are obviously different circumstances to think about. Under normal circumstances, when a stock is rejecting certain prices off of technical analysis, it's because people think that it's overvalued and therefore are taking profit. Now, we know the case isn't that for AMC because we've seen the fundamentals, which is more important than technical analysis, which have shown how AMC should be valued higher. When you take a look at the price movement for Cinemark, for IMAX, you know that AMC should be experiencing that same move right now. And so whilst we are seeing this manipulation going on at $3, which is a technical rejection, which is bearish, I think it still goes down to the bearish movement that we talked about. It goes down to the manipulation and suppression. The very fact we were able to close above $2, which was one of the most talked about points this week, is already a very good thing. And this is what we talked about with how options, whilst they're trying to pin the price down to certain levels for AMC, they're failing to do so. And I think the big thing that they couldn't close below $2 is already showing how the liquidity for the short sellers are going down. When you take a look at some of the checklists for AMC right now in terms of the bullish things, we've already talked about the record all-time 106-year earnings. We talked about the 20-week moving average crossing above 350 week. We are above all moving averages. The data is swearing that nobody is shorting this name. And we're seeing how the next quarter will be near or exceed record all time. And of course, there are so much more coming in as well for AMC. It isn't just that. The box office is improving. We are going to be seeing more and more record weekends being broken. We are going to be seeing more records being broken, period. And this is what we've realized with how everything is ready for AMC. And it's why, going back to earlier in terms of why, whilst on the technical, it looks like it's bearish that we're rejecting $3, the fundamentals is saying a completely different story with just how bullish AMC is. Now, if you take a look at all the movies breaking records right now, and we see this momentum continue, you're going to be looking at how AMC is going to go into profitable very, very soon. And this is why we've said with how the fundamentals, the thing that really dictates the price, is already showing how undervalued AMC is. And if you are one of those ones, or if you have seen how institutions have been buying stocks based on their future projected earnings, AMC is still definitely undervalued in comparison to that as well. And so on every aspect, at least for me, we are just seeing the kind of the opportunity, the potential there is for AMC. And it's why, like I've said, yes, you can make arguments for technical analysis, but the fundamentals overall is trumping through all of that. And if you see this, we overestimate the gross revenue at AMC retains 51% ticket sales and 81% food and beverage revenue. Readjust to $14.71 per guest, scale to 400 to 500 million guests, that's $5.9 billion to $7.4 billion. Now, this is already talking about in terms of where we are going to be looking at AMC pulling in the money, how well we're going to be seeing AMC growing. And remember, this is ultimately the turnaround for AMC. We've already seen how well Q2 was, and we are only expecting Q3 to get even better. We've already seen the news so far for Q3 in terms of how well the box office is doing, in terms of how well AMC is doing because of that. And so when it comes to that time, when we see the Q3 earnings, you're going to be looking at the revenue increasing, you're going to be looking at the profit margin increasing. And ultimately, if we do have spare cash and adjusting that the free cash flow is extremely healthy, we are going to be looking at how there is even more potential debt reduction. And this really just strengthens our point earlier of talking about how fundamentals is ultimately dictating that AMC should be way higher than we are now. This is why we talked about AMC being extremely bullish, and why we talked about we've pretty much checked everything on the list for when AMC is about to moon. Now, more on the options chain, if you take a look at this right now, we are seeing calls increasing while $3 and above on puts are decreasing. So more and more people are buying into these $2 calls, are buying into these $2.50 calls, which are already in the money. Now, on top of that, they're increasing their call volume on $3, $3.50, and $4. So more and more people are expecting AMC to obviously go above these prices. And this is something that we are already seeing and why we understand with how the bullish volume is there. What I think is also another big point to talk about is that the puts are going down on AMC. And this really shows how the hedge funds don't have the ability to manipulate the price of AMC as much as they did before. Because just like what we've said earlier, if they truly believe that AMC was going to go down below $2 this week because of the max pain, then the put option should have increased. The put option on $2.50, the put option on $2 would have increased drastically if they really thought that was the case. But the very fact it was the opposite, the fact that they're increasing these puts, I think is already a showing of how well we are doing. And in terms of why all of these narratives that they are trying to push with AMC falling in price are obviously not true. And this is just another understanding with why we're expecting the gamma exposure to increase even more for AMC and why we're expecting AMC to go up even higher in the near weeks because of how much call volume there really is right now for AMC. Bear in mind that yesterday, 12K 2.50 calls was purchased. And this is something that we talked about with how I think this is a sort of insider trade where it is an institution doing this trade. And the reasoning for why I think they are making this trade, the reasoning behind it is because they understand what's happening within the industry right now. From all of the data we've covered on this channel, we are seeing one major point, which is all of these hedge funds previously that had access to billions of dollars of money, previously had access to, massive leverage, massive allocation of capital, are all seeing that disappear. So they don't have the ability to create as many synthetics as before. They don't have the ability to short AMC many times over like before. And it's precisely because of this, I think some institutions who aren't short AMC are taking advantage of this and buying into call options for AMC and longing AMC because they've realized that the shorts aren't able to manipulate AMC as much as before. And we're truly seeing a very slow but yet true price reflection of AMC that's happening right now. And I think that this is what we need to realize with the price discovery. Also something about this, and this is how we see them, they are trying to really buy into AMC, why they're failing to manipulate and why they're scared about AMC in general. You can see this must not be accurate. In Webull, institutions own 53% of AMC stock and retail owns 46%. And this is the Webull brokerage, which is showing the ownership of AMC. As you guys can see, 53% for institutions, 45% for others, which is the retail. Now, the thing about this is that on June 30th of 2026, the institutions was 31.67%, the others was 67.68%. So what we saw was over 22% of retail ownership that was transferred to institutions from June 30th to where we are right now of August 22nd. So within 2 months' time, we saw 20% being sold off. Now, the reason why I find this ridiculous, and it's another big reason for why I think that they are creating synthetics just for long shares, is because there is no way that the majority of apes who've held through everything for the last 4 years suddenly decide to all sell all of a sudden. That is just not possible, at least in my opinion. And the only way that would explain, I'm not opposed to the fact that they have bought up so much shares of AMC because we have seen the filing. But what I think has happened is the fact they have bought up synthetic shares of AMC. We've seen how they created synthetic shares to short AMC, and so they have to create counterparties. And it looks like they are buying up these synthetic counterparties to actually hold on to AMC. Now, this is already showing how they're bullish about AMC, and is why we've said that they must know what's happening within these institutions for them to realize that we are going to be seeing the price discovery for AMC to happen right now. And is why they're willing to buy into all of these AMC shares. And this is why I've said about how we are seeing true price discovery, why we are extremely bullish, and why I really and truly do think that we are going to be seeing AMC going to the moon very, very soon. Another big thing is how Virtue is considering a potential sale of its agency, brokerage, and technology division in a deal that will free up capital to invest in the trading company's core market making operation, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because shorts are now selling assets to what seemingly look like to cover certain positions. Because if Virtue have made so much money from shorting AMC and any other stocks, they wouldn't feel the need to obviously sell other aspects of their businesses. And the very fact that they're selling these assets to put it and concentrate into one place, it feels like the AMC position is getting to them. Earlier, we talked about how there is a lack of liquidity, how the shorts are failing to suppress it. And now it just looks like the shorts are trying to scramble up that money to continuously shorting AMC. And so whilst we may be seeing potential kind of barriers again in the future where there is manipulation, where there is suppression, but I do think it's a very big sign and a good sign that they need to sell other assets to actually cover up these positions. They don't just have unlimited money anymore. They don't just have, these easy access. They have to sell some of their businesses to make sure that they can continuously suppressing AMC. And what we understood is that we have all the time in the world because AMC is going to an area where we are going to potentially looking at dividends. We are going to be looking at buybacks. So time is actually on our side because as that progresses, when AMC issues dividends, investors are only going to buy more shares of AMC. When AMC issues buybacks, it's only going to encourage even more investors to buy AMC. And this is why I ultimately think that shorts are really starting to fail right now and we're seeing them crumble in real time. As always, this is Financial Advice, and I'll catch you guys next time.